Hello and welcome to another beautiful day. Once again, it is Monday and it's a bright day. It's a fair day. It's a day of big achievement. Welcome to Oweleke TV, reaching you live and direct from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. This is Outnumbered. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and of course, joining me on Outnumber as usual is Antonia Nwokolo. Good morning, Antonia.
Good morning, Ramsey.
And also Michael Ekene. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Ramsey.
What did you see when you were coming to the office? A lot of roads to be commissioned in the FCT.
Yeah, and traffic has started building up.
Traffic is already building up.
Yeah.
In fact, people are going to get to the office late today, except for those of us that wake up on time every
and
day.
the office early.
Yeah, well, let's see what's going to be happening today, despite the commissioning that's about going on in Abuja. From the Vanguard newspaper right here, we have this one, where the kicker said minimum wage, fuel, schools, banks, others to be shut as strike begins today. Despite the commissioning, strike action begins today. NLC have said it is a no for them, despite the meeting they had with the National Assembly. It's not yielding any fruit. And I have some riders to that story. TUC directs Pengasin, ASSBIFI, senior civil servants to comply. Another rider says the labor charges workers to beware of government antics. Then this one says your proposed strike illegal. Federal government wants NLC and TUC. I take that again. Your proposed strike is illegal. This is coming from the federal government to NLC and TUC as a warning. More riders to that story. Suspend nationwide strike. Senate reps beg NLC and TUC. Another one says Akpabio, Abbas, Akume, others. Intervention failed to stop strike. National Minimum Wage Act 2019 has expired. Falano, a senior advocate of Nigerian, and other sons are the ones saying that, and that's the big story from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Then above the header, Oando announces 74.7 billion naira profit after tax as turnover rises 71%. Details read on page 10. Zenith Bank emerges most sustainable bank in Nigeria. Details read on page 21. The problem with Tinubu's misfiring leadership by Akin, well, that is an interview. You can check that out on page 14 of the Vanguard newspaper. Nigeria must leverage national assets to attract forex inflow. Details read on page 22 and 23, pages 22 and 23. That is a business economy. Another very exciting headline from here on page 20 said anxiety as federal government borrows 20.1 trillion naira under Tinubu. That is in just 1 year. Then finally, from here, Gencos cry out over 3.7 trillion naira debt. And that's the most we'll be taking this morning from the Vanguard newspaper as I hand you over to Michael for the next paper. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Ramsey. Straight to the Guardian. The kicker says fiscal policy and tax reforms. New national tax template excites private sector on settled state. That's the big story on page 6 of the Guardian. Another interesting story on page 6 is adamant Labour begins strike as National Assembly truce meeting fails. Away from that, 3.7 trillion liquidity crisis, secrecy in billing threatening Gencos. You can see that on page 3 of the Guardian. NAFDAC warns against use of harmful preservatives. You get that story on page 30 of the Guardian. Away from that, onslaught on journalists raises press freedom concerns. You can get that story on page 4 of the Guardian. And last on the Guardian, Nigeria lacks transformational leaders. That is from former President Obasanjo. You can get that gist on page 5 of the Guardian. You can see the president is always speaking. Buhari, he was very critical about this government. He's always critical about this government. Let's pray that something positive comes out from there in the next election, because Obasanjo is a very fearless leader. We all know that he keeps, talking about Nigeria lacking good leaders. Away from that, the Guardian, that's all we have on on the Guardian this morning. Back straight to you, Antonia.
Thank you, Michael. Let's take a look at the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. The big story we have here, minimum wage, that's the kicker. Strike begins as National Assembly intervention fails. And we have two riders underneath. Labour's action illegal. This is coming from the AGF. Uncertainty over Hajj pilgrims airlift. And the details of the story is on page 4. Underneath this headline, we'll have a goodwill message from Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited to President Tinubu on the hitting the 1-year mark. Congratulatory messages are still pouring in as this administration clocked 1 year on May 29th, 2024. To get more stories on the do pick a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper from your vendor. Over to you, Ramsey.
Well, thank you very much, Antonia. I heard that headline when you were talking about the goodwill message, and that has been on since last week.
Until
now it is still on.
That's the reason I specifically mentioned the dates. The 1-year mark, or today is 3rd June. So congratulations are still pouring in.
Yeah. I see some of these things as trying to patronize the president. Maybe patronize his office to just say, well, we are here and we are with you in case of anything,
like a notice
so that you can just remember that we are here, we are for you.
And it's also from benefactors.
And most times that's how it happens. All right, let's take you to the Nation's newspaper this morning and bring you to speed with the headlines from there. Above the header, Gereku Cements partner to raise Nigerian firms' overall power generation capacity to 1,200 megawatts. All right. Then the big story here says why strike is illegal by federal government. If you want to know why the federal government, the first paper that I took, I read one of the kickers where it says federal government is saying NLC and TUC strike is illegal. And on the Nation's newspaper, it's coming as the big story where they said strike action is illegal and the reason why it is illegal. So if you want to know the reason why the federal government have said the strike action going on today is illegal as a result of the minimum wage. Of course, the negotiation, it's not going well with Labour, even though the National Assembly have intervened and they are now saying, well, you want to go on strike, it's illegal. That's the federal government. And they said the reason why. All of that is on the Nation's newspaper. Details read on page 2. Then the whole page has been bought up by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, and they are welcoming His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the commissioning of the expansion of the Outer Southern Expressway from Villa Roundabout to Oweleke Ring Road 1 Junction. Well, I don't know all these roads. I don't even know. Kudos to the FCT minister, whatever it is. Let there be continuity. Let there be continuation. Let this not be because the president is celebrating his 1 year and they want to prove to people that they are working. But then the hunger needs to be dealt with first and foremost, because you need to be satisfied. You need to be full before you even ply these roads. Mm-hmm. So I think apart from the infrastructure, people need to be alive to actually use these infrastructures. Kudos to the Federal Capital Territory Administration, His Excellency Nyesom Wike, and of course the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And this is going to be the size of the headlines from the Nation's newspaper. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the strike action going on right now by NLC, and it's so in depth that both the banks and other institutions are being asked to join the strike action. We'll bring you more details and more analysis on that after the break. Don't go nowhere.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleketv for a thrilling journey. Oweleke TV, rising star at the fairground.
We're actually back with a big story this morning because the story is really big. It's already happening where you are. Wherever you are right now, you already know that the strike action have started. NLC and TUC said there is no going back. Welcome back from that break. It is still Oweleke TV, reaching you live and direct from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where you have myself, Ramsey, and Antonia and Michael. We want to talk about this. This strike action, the Labour have also asked filling stations, schools, banks, and others to shut down beginning from today. And National Assembly actually intervened, Akpabio and other senators, but then they couldn't come to agreement. And this morning, suspend nationwide strike. Senate reps are begging NLC and TUC. And that's not just all. Akpabio and Abbas Akume, others' intervention couldn't work because NLC have not really gotten what they wanted. I was speaking with someone and the person was like, hey, this thing is becoming more political, that the NLC chairman is trying to frustrate this administration. I looked at the person into his eyes and I told him, well, this is minimum wage. This is all about Nigerians. Even if it has anything to do with party or not, as he has alleged. Well, the most important thing is that this is about Nigerians and not just the party and this administration. And I was also telling the person that there are some people in politics that their take home is way more than what NLC is asking for. But then, even if they can't get exactly what they are asking for, they should get something reasonable at least. But now, this is where it has ended. So what do you think? Akpabio and other senators couldn't make it happen right now. And NLC said the strike action should begin. And federal government is coming to say, well, if you want to embark on strike action, this strike action is illegal. I don't know on the premises, on what premises are they trying to say this strike action is illegal. This is not the first time they are going on strike. The first time there was a warning strike. Then they said, let's go to the negotiation table. Then they were adding 3,000 naira. I don't know. We've not heard of the outcome from the last meeting. We don't know what the National Assembly proposed. But then for NLC and TUC to say, no, it means it is not commensurate with what they are actually asking for. They may not get the 400 and something thousand naira, but then something reasonable may force NLC and TUC to suspend the strike. So what do you think? Federal government said this strike is illegal. So what's your thoughts?
The question is, on what grounds? How is it illegal? This is not the first time the NLC is embarking on strike. Earlier this year, they went on strike, and on the second day, they called off the strike. And the NLC president came out to say the strike was called off because of intimidation. This is not the first time. Probably they were receiving threats from the powers that be, and that was why they had to call off the strike. There was another time when the NLC and TUC were supposed to go on strike. TUC backed out and said it was not, they had to reach a consensus. This was not a joint agreement. It was just the NLC that wanted to go on the strike. The TUC was not involved. And now this meeting that the National Assembly had, not just key members of National Assembly were the Minister of State for Labour and Productivity was there. The Minister of Information was there. Other top officials were there at that meeting. And this just, even the head of civil service was present at the meeting. So this just goes to show that it's bringing out the burdens of Nigerians. Now the federal government is saying they don't want to move more than 60,000 naira that they've proposed. But how much 60,000 naira, according to, let me use Michael's word, is not enough to get a bag of rice in this current economy. And like last week, you made an analysis that if a family is to eat bread throughout the day, let's say breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's not even commensurate. So where do we go from here?
A loaf of bread is 1,450
naira.
1,500 in my area.
It's 1,450 in my area.
So
just imagine. And looking at everything,
just a loaf of bread.
Just a loaf of bread.
And it will amaze you that this loaf of bread cannot take you 2 times for a family. It's something that you eat and you want to add something on it. Yes.
Okay. Definitely, you will not eat dry bread. Add the other things that would follow. So I think what is important, I've been saying it, the minimum wage, 100 and above, let's start from there.
At least.
And it should be constantly reviewed, because the reason why we are where we are is because for years it has been on that 35,000 naira and nothing was done. But if it is something that is constantly reviewed, one would heave this sigh of relief when you know that, okay, we're starting with 100 and above, and in 2 years' time or in a year's time, it will be reviewed. You know, it's moving according to
Don't you think Labour is even insisting on this amount because they know that this thing may not be reviewed again in the next 5 to 10 years, just like it happened to the 35,000.
So let's just
fight it now once and for all, because these people, it's difficult to talk with them. So let's just do it now.
You made a solid point there. I think that's why the Labour is putting
I am thinking out of the box. I'm just trying to think out of the box. So Michael, what do you think? Any strike action that has to do with fuel, schools, banks in Nigeria know that it is a serious one. It's like NLC and TUC is coming out harder this time than the other times. What do you think about this? There've been an intervention by the National Assembly. If you ask me, I will say, who is the federal government and who is the National Assembly? And it ended in deadlock. So what do you think, despite this intervention, NLC is still insisting and this strike action?
Yeah. When the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, came out and said the strike action is a breach of order of industrial court, what he meant on the premise of any employee that is employed on the national services like the civil service, there's a law that states that they have to give 15 days notice to the employer before ceasing to work, before stopping the job. So on their Industrial Act, there's a law. In fact, Section 18 of Trade Union Congress Act is stated there that before you cease your services or you stop working, you give 15 days notice to the employer, or you face a fine of 100,000 or 6 months imprisonment. It's stated. So they know. Labour knows that. TUC knows that. So when Lateef Fagbemi came out to say it's illegal, it's actually stated, written, documented.
Okay,
but
they're not talking. There've been a warning strike.
Yes,
this is not the first strike. So the federal government have been calling them to the negotiation table, meaning the federal government is aware. And I want to ask you a question, please. Do we have industrial court in Nigeria, and do we have labor laws in Nigeria? Is it working, or we just have it on paper? No. Because if this is a topic, if we want to go into how employers treat employees and how some employees behave to employers and all these things go free. All these things happening. If we want to go into that, that's going to be a topic. So if it is now that whoever is coming out to say there is industrial what, but it's applying to this now because it has to do with the federal government. They are going to bring this law now. But when it comes to the average Nigerian that is being treated unfairly, they don't think about this. Then they are being insensitive and they are being unfair.
That's what I'm saying. When Lateef Fagbemi
it's annoying.
When the Attorney General mentioned that part, he's becoming to quote the law to actually have something that backs it up why they should not go.
They know the law when it's affecting them, but when it comes to the average Nigerian, the law doesn't take its place.
And NLC and TUC, the counterparts, when Ajero said we don't want this, we want 494,000, right? That's what NLC is clamoring for, and the TUC and other organs, which they said they have to deliberate again and come back. But bringing this now from Lateef Fagbemi, the Attorney General, talking about 6 months. Do you want to jail them because they went on strike? Because they are trying to protect. Talks
have been going on.
Someone said the law, the Constitution of Nigeria, the law. Someone said that it only works on the poor.
People interpret it to favor certain situations. Let's not just categorize it as it works on the poor.
So
I feel it's a situation
18,
where they
Section
interpret
18
it to
has been stipulated and it's been in existence, but I feel it's not been vigorously practiced. When you see people, doing what they want in civil services, but when it comes to agitations of the poor. We need an increment of a salary. You see, Latifah Oyemi came out and said, Trade Union Act, Section
Union
18
Act,
stipulates that
civil court, and all of that.
Industrial court.
That a worker has to give 15 days warning before leaving or faces 6 years imprisonment. How much
6
is the
months
salary?
you mentioned.
6 months. 6 months. Yeah.
So
6 months
how many
imprisonment.
years does a corrupt office holder spend in jail? How many years? What's their jail term?
Is that
Corrupt.
stipulated in
That's what I'm
the Trade
saying.
Union Act?
That's what I'm saying. How what is their jail term?
He did not even
If
mention,
anyone is being caught,
he did not even
what
mention,
is their jail
he did not
term?
even mention if
So
you're
these
caught
things should be
embezzling funds. This is
Yeah,
what
these things should be
what-
put side by side so that we know this thing is working. You understand? But when you come and you say something that will affect the average Nigerians alone, then it's more like you're trying to bring out the law. And I'll keep saying it. The average Nigerian who doesn't have a voice, okay, most times, well, let me not go there because this is going to be a topic for another day. You'll see someone, a corrupt politician, cutting away millions. They are being caught. And at the end of the day, nothing happens.
They don't mention
But you
these
see someone
sections.
who, though we're not saying anything criminal is criminal. We're not trying to justify any criminal act. But then you see someone who stole maybe a tuber of yam or maybe something very small, and you see the person spending some times in jail.
fact,
We're
in
not trying to
Lagos-
say crime is good. Whatever crime, anything that is criminal needs to face the wrath of the law. You understand? Anything criminal, whatever, anything you take that it's not yours, but then let this thing be even.
Let
all right?
there be fairness.
There should be fairness at every level. People who are doing anything criminal should be brought to justice. The justice should take its course. Well, I don't know, but then I think with this now, let's just wait and see what will happen because this is
tomorrow,
strike.
in the coming days.
Even though this is going to affect all of us,
Yes,
banks will not
definitely.
work.
Banks will not work.
People will not go to
Petrol
school.
that is even difficult to get on
Petrol
on a
on
regular day.
a normal day.
How much
Now,
more when
there is
when the
strike
is
action
on,
and NLC saying everyone should join the strike action. So let's see. It's going to affect the average Nigerian in a way, but then at least let it be fought out. All right, they should just fight it out
You
once
think the
and
federal
for all.
government will succumb to paying 494,000?
No, you
No.
understand what we're saying. They may not
should
want
be
to.
increased
I
substantially.
had a guest when we're talking about the economy, and I brought this up, an economist, and you remember on review. You can go on page Oweleke TV on YouTube and just look for that review. You can hear where he was doing a breakdown, and he said, well, they are just trying to have something, a benchmark, so that no matter what, they are going for the moon. If they can't get the moon, they should
reach
get
for
the
the
star
stars.
at least. I think that is what it means.
Okay.
It may not be the 400. And Sonia is always saying at least 100 and above.
Yes, because let's be realistic. Once they increase it to 494,000, we know those that are already earning 494,000. We know how much. Do you understand?
You understand?
How much?
I
it
think
will
it's part of
double
what
or
the federal
triple.
government
Do you
is scared
understand?
of.
So all of these things. So let's put it at a place where it's a win-win situation. We reach a compromise, reach a point. Okay, this person is happy. You are happy. We are happy.
Yeah,
Everybody's
is
happy.
And it should be something that they can pay consistently.
Yes, and they can pay consistently.
Let them not start owing
Do you
workers
understand?
because
they're
that is
already,
bad.
They're
That is
already
worse.
owing universities from last year about 4 months last year. How much more this year? Now combine other sectors, other ministries where this would also
And it's
reflect.
not like Nigeria doesn't have this money. We have this money, but it's just
It's
Oh
into
my
the
God,
pocket
that-
of some
that
certain
conversation.
individuals.
We have this
Certain
money.
individuals
Nigeria
are
is
just being
wealthy.
selfish and insensitive, and they don't care about the people.
So there are so many big leaders that have embezzled things that are very, very huge, and they have been swept under the
In a
carpet.
sane
We're not
country,
even hearing about
in a
them.
sane country,
There's no subsection
I-
quoted for them. And how come 35, and then Latifah Oyemi came, Attorney General, come they quote subsection 8 of the Trade Union Act stipulates that issue. Come on.
made them go quote am for Kano now. She made them go quote am. Me as they get issue for Kano.
Oh my goodness.
This small thing.
All right. Well, this is going to be the size of the review for today, as it is right now. Fuels, schools, bank orders be shut down as strike begins today. Let's see what's going to come out of it. But then, at the end of the day, the average Nigerians shouldn't suffer too much because Nigerians are going through so much enough, and more will be something else. Thank you very much, Antonia. Thank you very much, Michael. And viewers, thank you for starting this Monday on this beautiful note. At least you got an insight into what the strike action and the surrounding informations and the happenings around it this morning on Oweleke TV. We'll come on your way again, and that's going to be tomorrow, same time, same station. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Do have a wonderful week ahead of you.